locker room at TCF Bank Stadium. Welcome to another edition of Sunday Night Overtime with Coach Claeys. Alongside the head coach, Tracy Claeys, I'm Justin Guard from KFAN Radio and the Gopher Radio Network. And Coach, for the first time this season, we're talking about a loss, 29-26 in overtime yesterday, your first road game, your conference opener against Penn State. You've had about 24 hours to digest it and go over it. Give us your general thoughts on the ball game yesterday.
You know, as far as a game, I mean, anytime you get an overtime game on the road and tight ball game is entertaining, I'm sure, but at the same time is that, you know, we took the third quarter off, basically, you know, and you can't go on the road and win in places, especially a tough place like Happy Valley, when you outscored 17-0 in the third. But, you know, obviously you can't throw that out, and I wish I had a way to explain it, but it happens in athletics sometimes. You lose the momentum and the other team gets it. What I would say is those are kids, we fought back and got the lead again and thought we had things in control, and you know, they made one more play there at the end to get us to overtime, and then they finished it off. So obviously disappointed, as the kids are, that we had our opportunities, but at the same time, you know, it was the first trip for some guys, and we'll learn from it, and we still have 8 conference games to go, so we just take care of ourselves, we'll be fine.
A reminder that we have time in our second segment to take some Facebook questions, and we have some enticement this week in that we will pick a Minnesota Lottery question of the week, and that person will get a Minnesota Lottery prize pack. We thank the Minnesota Lottery, of course, for the help with this show, and now the prize pack, and we've got some Twitter questions to get to in just a minute or two. You mentioned fighting back in the fourth quarter. As I was on the field when it turned in the third, 90,000 people went crazy. Penn State got momentum. I thought it was really going to snowball there, in all honesty, and I didn't know if you guys would get it back there. You end up fighting back, you know, taking the lead again. What kind of flipped there for the offense and the defense in the fourth?
You just start to make a couple plays, and you preach to kids all the time during the games. When you start to lose momentum, it still goes back to the fundamentals and the basics. You know, if you get back to playing hard, doing the fundamentals well, you got a chance to get the momentum back, rather than just sit there and wonder what's going on. And so I thought our kids got refocused and offensively went out and got some points and got it tied back up or got within a score. And from there I thought, you know, we did some good things. But at the same time, you know, we didn't play as well in the red zone. We had turnover in the red zone there that could have helped a lot towards the end. And then at the same time, it is on defensively, we got to continue to limit the big plays and work on that. So, but regardless, you can break down a lot of ways and go to this play, that play, and you know, the 4th and 12 that they catch on us, which is a great throw by him and a catch over the middle, and it's a game of inches. But the bottom line is we got outscored 17-0 in the third quarter, and can't let that happen.
Offensively, you guys have been pretty balanced this year, it seems, more so than in the past. And I got to think most weeks you're going to you'll take almost 500 yards of total offense, right?
Yeah, but I don't, you know, here's the thing. Offensive football has gotten too worried about how many yards.
Sure.
It's still points, and that's what I say about defense. It's a matter of points. So we're giving out some big plays, and we've got to eliminate that. You know, we still held them to 20, 23 points. That's going to give you a chance to win each week. And believe me, we've got issues we got to get fixed, or we're going to have some issues. But, you know, I think too many times on offense, yeah, you get 500 yards, but, you know, in this game, nowadays, as I said, our goal is to score 8 or 7, more than 7 points a quarter. It's going to put you in the low 30s, and that's kind of where you're at nowadays, is you kind of got to get to that range. So, you know, offensively to have a bad third quarter there, and momentum, same thing. We couldn't really get a first down, and so defense is on the field a lot, but basically the third quarter, the things that went wrong there, we've got to get straightened out.
One thing that I think is going to get overshadowed before we get to the Twitter questions is you had a kicker who'd never been in a situation like he was in, talking about Emmett Carpenter, and you had decisions to make on going for field goals and all of those things. He was pretty lights out for you and had a couple of long kicks. That has to make you feel good as a coach, just moving forward, that now he's been tested, he's been in that situation. If you were ever going to hesitate, you probably won't now because of what he did.
And, you know, we've been able to close out the halves, and we've tried to do that and give him some. But here's another one that goes along with it that nobody thinks about. The holder's a redshirt freshman.
Sure.
You know, first time he's going to be in those situations and actually take those snaps and hold them. So our kicking game has been solid. you know, for the most part, and especially the PAT field goal. So, you know, like I say, we've got to get some things, continue to work on defensively, of controlling the big plays, and like I say, offensively, just being consistent, not only the yardage, but finishing off with points, which we had done up till yesterday.
Keep getting those Facebook questions in the comments section on the Facebook page here that you're watching on the Gopher Football Facebook page. Let's get into the Twitter questions now, Coach. Enough for me. I know someone here wants to already look ahead. Onion Dude, that's a heck of a handle, wants to know, how do you make sure that the team has the right frame of mind to make sure Floyd comes back to Minneapolis in this case? I'll correct the tweet there. But you've got a big one, you know, coming up this Saturday, and now you've got, like you said, 8 more conference games, and I asked you this yesterday on the radio. How do you make sure everybody stays in the right frame of mind and looks forward to Iowa now?
You know, one thing is, you know, make sure kids understand that, you know, each week half the teams win and half of them lose, and on the road it's hard to win on the road, but I'm also preach all the time is I don't think the one game one week has any effect on the one next week, as long as you take time and prepare. So there comes a point you can't let this loss cost you to lose 2 losses, and that's our job as coaches. Is that so that's why we like to bring our kids in on Sunday. You go through the film with them, explain our thoughts about the last game. Let them tell us what they think about the last game, and then put it away. I mean, you're not going to change it. It's done. It's a big week. We're going to play for Floyd, and that's important to a lot of people in this area. And so. And the other thing is that, you know, the kids know there's only so many opportunities, and I do think it's a very competitive team. We didn't quit yesterday. We continue to fight till the very end, and we'll bounce back again. I like our team, and you know, they want to do well, so but there'll be an awful lot of making sure, you know, after today, we won't talk about this game much as a team, and make sure everything gets focused on Iowa.
You mentioned the defense in the opening statement. I think that's where our next Twitter question wants to go. Brad913 talking about mental lapses maybe defensively. They play well for 9 out of 10 plays, give up one big one and a score. We've talked about the yin and the yang, tackles for loss on one side, but also big plays. What do you think's leading to it?
Well, one thing about, you know, you look at the big plays and they're different people, too, you know. They ran a deep scissors pass on John and caught a ball on him. Did a double move on Antonio Chenal, caught a ball on him. If it's always the same person, it's easy to correct.
Right.
It's when it gets to where it gets moving around to different people, and so you know, we just continue, and you know, as defensively, we watch the video as a team, and defense a little different. Everybody's got to understand one guy out of place can lead to points, and as opposed to offensively, yeah. Maybe a guy misses a block and you only get 1 yard or 2. You still get a chance to punt the ball away. You're not giving up points. And so defensively, we got to continue to stress how it's like a big puzzle, and everybody's got to fit in there and do their part. And when you don't, there's a great chance of points are going to be scored.
Last Twitter question before we give you some sights and sounds and get to the Facebook questions. You guys are doing this now with 2 returners back to receive the punt. What leads into that? And as a TV Boomer 10 wants to know, do you see an increased production there with 2 returners?
What it's done is the reason that we switched to it more is that we're not letting the ball hit the ground and bounce. And last year we ended up getting stuck inside the 10-yard line a whole bunch and losing yardage because of the bounce. So at least with 2 returners back, we have a chance to make sure we catch that ball in the air, or you're in a better position to catch it on the first bounce. So that's where it's been really productive for us. We're not losing yardage on the bounce.
Just getting going here on Sunday Night Overtime with Coach Claeys. We'll get to the Facebook questions next. But first, if you missed the game in Happy Valley yesterday, you missed quite a bit. We'll get you caught up with some sights and sounds. Get him cut off. Here we go.
Give me some food! Have you? Give me some food! Have you? Give me some food! Have you?
Hey, let's go, dude. Play physical now. Get after it. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Missed a lot in Happy Valley, as we talked about after the game. It was, I thought, you don't like losing, but in terms of ebb and flow and back and forth, that's what you pay. That's why people are showing up to see a highly competitive game like that.
And I think that's Big Ten football. I mean, you're not going to go on the road and take care of a lot of people most of the games. They're going to be tight going into the fourth quarter. If you get a win by more than 7 points, then you're probably going to have a big win. That's just the way they are. But you got to close out games, and you can't beat yourself.
Let's get to the Facebook questions that have been coming in our first segment of the show. We're going to start with Jared, who wants to know about the areas that you're looking to improve most going forward. You've touched on a few of these so far, but if you could pare it down to one or two.
Yeah, like I say, defensively, just in general, still keeping the ball in front of us, and hopefully we get that down to we've always had a goal of one or less. You're always going to have something, trick play something, where they get a big play or not, and so we've got to continue to try to keep the ball in front of us. But at the same time, we held them to field goals a couple of times. I thought in the red zone overall we played better than what we did. The other thing then on offense is, like I say, we're going to go back to making sure in the red zone that we do what we're supposed to do, the sound thing is something I think we need to continue to work on. We didn't get as much movement up front as we had, and sometimes the guy would be just a little bit laid off of the ball, and the noise, and that has a lot to do with it. So those are things that you deal with, without a doubt. But if we continue to, like I say, improve it on the big plays, but we got to get points in the red zone. We can't have turnovers in the red zone. That's probably the difference in that game.
Our next question comes from Patrick, looking ahead to next weekend. In terms of the atmosphere you're expecting for the game right here, where we are now, I assume you hope it's pretty lively, an 11 o'clock kick.
Oh, yeah, it will be. I'm sure it will be. Great fans, and, playing for Floyd, big rivalry game, border war. I don't have any concerns about a great atmosphere we'll have when we kick off next Saturday.
Next Facebook question is revolving around the running backs, specifically Shannon Brooks, who's now been back for a game or two, and really gave you again another spark with that touchdown yesterday. Is he basically 100%? Do you think he'll be 100%? That's what Vernon wants to know.
Yeah, he's 100%. He's ready to go. Him and Rodney, he can continue to do well, even though they will tell you after watching the film they missed a few. But as I said before, that's usually going to happen. You have all these things going on. They missed a cut or two, and there were a couple of those plays that didn't end up doing so well. They had their opportunities, but the more reps they get, he probably needs more of those to see the cuts and the visions. And Rodney continues to play at a high level. So we got to get everybody else to play as high level as they are.
Congratulations to Vernon with that Shannon Brooks question. He is our Minnesota Lottery question of the week. Vernon will get a Minnesota Lottery prize pack, and we'll be doing that the rest of the season. Thanks again to the Minnesota Lottery for the help with Sunday Night Overtime with Coach Claeys. We'll wrap it up, Coach, with a look ahead to the Iowa Hawkeyes. They lose to Northwestern at home over the weekend. Obviously, had kind of an up-and-down season for them so far, but you mentioned it's a rivalry game. It's an important game. Floyd of Rosedale's on the line. What do you know about the Hawkeyes from afar this early season?
I just don't think you'll see any changes. They do what they do year in and year out. I think they lost a receiver here earlier to an injury, and I think that probably had more to do with how well they had played. And then here against Northwestern, they showed they're able to score some points. I think they scored 31 points yesterday. So obviously they've made some adjustments without the wide receiver, and it'll be a challenge, but it'll always be fun. We're right here in home, and we feel like anytime we play at TCS Stadium that the game should be ours.
Thanks again for the time. We'll talk to you next week right here on the Gopher Facebook page.
Thanks for having me.
That's the head coach, Tracy Claeys. A reminder, we're here every single Sunday now the rest of the way at 7 o'clock, thanks to the Minnesota Lottery. Get your Twitter questions in next Sunday, and get your Facebook questions in during the show. For all of us here at Sunday Night Overtime with Coach Claeys, have a great rest of the weekend.